So you know those moments in life when everything seems to just go perfectly, as if the universe itself is aligning itself just for you? Let me tell you a tale where the exact opposite happened to me. I made a severe and continuous lapse in judgment when I went to buy a guitar a couple of weeks ago. A little bit of a backstory: I recently moved across the Atlantic Ocean, which meant getting rid of most of my shit. Among said shit was my beautiful butterscotch Telecaster, which I loved very dearly, and I didn't want for it to get accidentally damaged in transit. By accidentally, I mean it will be punted into the cargo hold by some very nice airline employee. After gathering my bearings in this new location, I decided to search for the closest music shop, which, to my pleasant surprise, was only a 2-hour drive away. Which may or may not seem that bad to you depending on where you live, but personally, I'm used to everything being like, at most, a 30-minute drive away from me. Anyways, I go there and I make sure to get everything I needed. After all, I wouldn't want to come back home only to discover that I forgot to buy something crucial. It was only a 4-hour round trip. That is what we call foreshadowing. I come back home and I unpack my beautiful brand new mint-colored Telecaster. I change out the strings, I lather up the fretboard with some oil, really give it the love it deserves. I unpack the cable, I connect the guitar to my sound interface, and... Where are my picks? Son of a... That's right, I got nothing to diddle my guitar with except for my bare fingers, which is quite a problem because usually diddling without tools isn't quite my style. So I just let my guitar sit there for a while and collect dust, as I'm not about to make a 4-hour round trip just to get some picks. A couple of days pass and I'm shopping in a grocery store which I've never been in before when I stumble upon an escalator that takes you up to an upstairs section. My curiosity piqued, I decided to check it out, and what I found was a whole nother section to the store that just practically sells anything you need. You got clothing sections, you got an arts and crafts section, electrical appliances, things for the home. I'm sure if you looked hard enough, you'd probably even find some sex dolls over there. But most importantly, my saving grace, they had a section with musical instruments. You have a wide selection. Guitars, both acoustic and electric, violins, trumpets, xylophones, you got all types of drums, you got cymbals, tambourines, ukuleles, you name it, and they got it. Most likely. Although I could find various accessories and knickknacks in this section, I couldn't find any picks. But I didn't give up just yet, because if they're selling all of these things, there's no way that they wouldn't have picks. Right? That is what we call foreshadowing. There was this little booth section that had all sorts of things for various musical instruments, such as guitar strings, guitar pickups, tuning pegs, snares, but once again, no picks. So I asked the guy behind the counter, "Do you have any picks?" To which he replies, "I'm sorry, but we do not." Motherfucker, I could buy a plank of wood and all the necessary equipment in this store to DIY my own guitar. What do you mean you don't have picks? You have fucking pickups for brass instruments, which, by the way, I didn't even know were a thing up until reviewing the footage right now. How do you not have a singular pick at least? I'm just being dramatic for the sake of the video. It's really not that much of a problem to make your own picks, so let's do that. A lot of people on the internet suggested that you can make good picks out of old gift cards, so I picked
Bazinga!
a couple of old gift cards I had lying around. Now, this isn't an arts and craft channel, so this isn't going to be a tutorial of any kind. You're grown adults. At least I assume. If not, hit me up. I aspire to start my political career. So yeah, I assume you can figure this out on your own. I don't think you need me to tell you how to do this. I think I fucked this one up. Look, it's all crooked and shit. Doesn't look too good, but I'll find a way to fix it. But yeah, in the interest of keeping this engaging, I wanted to talk about something that recently happened to me that I think is quite interesting. A few weeks ago, I caught a cold, which on the third day led to some ear complications. Within a couple of hours, I started to notice that I couldn't really hear anything in my left ear anymore. Or, I mean, I could hear, but barely. It was like extremely clogged. And after a couple of days, I noticed that it wasn't going away, so I decided to go to the doctor, as I want functioning ears. Please and thank you. So the doctor said two things. One, I definitely had an ear infection, and we really need to sort that shit out quickly, because if left untreated, that could definitely lead to some serious consequences in the future. And second of all, he said, holy shit, how have you been hearing anything? Your ears are clogged the fuck up, you disgusting, horrible man. I may be slightly paraphrasing. The doctor insisted that first of all I get my ears cleaned, which I said, sure, why not? And he did it on the spot, which, side note, I don't know if you've ever had that done to you, but that shit fucks you up. I would have never expected the level of nausea and like I almost fainted while he did that. That's insane that just having water sprayed into your ear can do that to you. Our bodies truly are a mystery. So I don't know if it was because of my ears being cleaned or what, but when I got back home, I noticed this weird sort of thing in my ear where certain sounds just, I don't know, resonated weirdly in my ear, and it was leading to this sort of dissonance between my left and my right ear. It almost felt like in my left ear, things were a little bit pitched up. On an unrelated note, there was a little photo of me on the back of my bus card, and I just thought this was really funny. So now I'm gonna have a pic with my face on it. Where was I? Right, so this dissonance in my left ear was kind of freaking me out, if I'm gonna be honest, as I take my hearing very seriously. After a little bit of investigation, I noticed that my left ear, for some reason, truly was just hearing everything slightly pitched up. So I was doing this thing where I was just kind of like closing one ear and then closing the other and just listening with only one ear at a time. I put on some music, and it was just like this weird effect where it would just like pitch up and down depending on which ear was open, which was trippy as all hell, and again was kind of scary, but it was interesting. I kind of got curious as to how that happened, so I decided to do a little bit of research, and I'll let Smart Ilya take over for this next part because I'm having so much trouble both doing arts and crafts and talking at the same time. It takes way too much brain power. Hi. I am completely naked from the waist down. I do want to preface this by saying that a lot of what I'm going to say may be wrong, as this is just a bare bones explanation of what I understand. Despite this character's name being Smart Ilya, I am in fact not very smart. To start off, we need to go over some of the basics. So what is sound anyways? Well, when practically anything happens in the physical world, it causes a burst of energy. That burst causes a disturbance in the air, or whatever medium it's surrounded by, which brings forth a chain reaction in said medium until the energy dissipates slowly. I'm sorry for breaking the immersion, but I can't be in these glasses because they make me nauseous and my head hurt. A great visual representation of this would be if you were to drop something into a body of water, let's say. That creates a ripple effect, which is displacing that energy further and further from the source. And each wave grows weaker and weaker until you reach equilibrium. Fuck, that's a hard word to say. You get what I'm trying to say. Equilibrium again. Sound waves consist of peaks and valleys, or as the smart men in lab coats say, compressions, meaning high air pressure, and rarefactions, meaning low air pressure. One peak and one valley make up a single cycle of a wave. This is a sine wave at 440 hertz. What does any of that nonsense mean? Well, a sine wave is the simplest and purest waveform or wave shape you can have. Confused to what that really means? We'll get to that in a second. First, let's go over the second part of that sentence I just mentioned. I apologize if the lights and color of the video suddenly changed very rapidly. There is a huge cloud covering the sun, so I had to turn on the light. So what is this hertz that all the cool kids seem to be talking about these days, and why are there 440 of them? Seems a bit excessive, doesn't it? Well, that just means that this sine wave is oscillating, or wiggling if you'd like, at 440 cycles a second. That means that this happens 440 times in a single second. Thereby, when it hits our eardrums, our brains perceive it as pitch. 440 hertz in particular is what the music men call A4, like the paper. But if you have a keen ear and intact brain functionality, you might think to yourself, this whole sine wave business is pretty cool and all, but nothing really sounds like that in real life. To which I would say, wow, look at you, you're so smart. Maybe you should be up here explaining to people how sound works on youtube.com, okay? Why don't you get back to doing smart things like studying quantum mechanics, or how about better yet, getting zero bitches? I want to clarify that I respect all women and that I do not think that using these misogynistic terms, which are meant to objectify and or put women down for the sake of comedy, are funny nor acceptable. Also, my life is definitely not being threatened by my girlfriend right now.
Good boy.
I didn't even say, can I get a treat now? So back to the whole simplest / purest waveform nonsense I was going on about. A sine wave is a single frequency, like in the example of the A4 tone I gave earlier. Well, that's because a sine wave is devoid of any fluff or filler. It's just a pure waveform. Here we have what's called a spectrum analyzer. Last week my doctor analyzed that I may be on the spectrum. Anyways, what does this tool do? Well, it's a graph, as you may see, where the y-axis represents volume measured in dBs, and the x-axis represents frequencies measured in hertz. When you play a sound, it visualizes all the frequencies found in the given sound and their relative volumes. Let's see what a sine wave looks like in this analyzer. As you can see, we have a single protrusion, aka a single frequency. There are those little ramps on the side, but those are just artifacts from how these analyzers work, so we just ignore that. Now, let's see what a saw wave looks like. Very brash, whiny, and annoying, unlike that silky smooth sound of a sine wave. You'll also notice that there are many other frequencies here, unlike the sine wave. So that's what separates the sine wave and every other wave in sound. A sine wave is pure and is made up of a single frequency, while everything else has at least more than one frequency. In reality, everything you hear is just an amalgamation of many different sine waves at different levels and different frequencies. And when it reaches your eardrum, your brain is able to process all of that information into a single sound. How does your brain do that, you ask? Man, you just really need to be spoon-fed everything, huh? Well, once the sound reaches your eardrum, it vibrates all throughout the cochlea. Why'd you genuinely laugh? I did a joking laugh, but you actually laughed at that, you fucking child. Anyways, the cochlea, the snail shell-shaped thingy that's found in the inner ear, which is segmented into various different frequency ranges. So if we take our 440 Hz frequency from earlier, once it reaches somewhere around this range, the entire region begins to vibrate. It's similar to how if you sing the correct frequency into a wine glass, it can start to vibrate, and it could even break if you sing the frequency loud enough. So something like that. This vibration is then picked up by these little hairs that line the entire inner cochlea, which then translates it to electric signals, which it sends to the brain. The brain does its magic, and bada bing, bada boom, we hear sound. Now, usually we have two ears. I don't mean to offend the... What would be the ear equivalent of a cyclops? Luckily for us, these systems in each ear tend to be symmetrical with one another, and any small difference in size and whatnot could usually be nullified by the brain, so that when the signals from both ears get processed by the brain, it's able to unify it into one single sound that averages any differences there are between both ears. But when the difference between each ear passes a certain threshold, like in the case of when I had the ear infection recently, you get what's called dissonance. Let me demonstrate. You may think you're listening to a single sine wave right now, but little do you know, I'm a little trickster. No good doer, some would say. This is in fact two sine waves who are playing identical frequencies. So when you sum them up, you just get a slightly louder version of the same sine wave. But what would happen if you were to slowly tune up one of those sine waves? You get a generally undesirable sound. This is what we call dissonance. The reason it happens is due to the fact that you have these two frequencies that are extremely similar to each other, but still have their differences. So their sum has a lot of interference. It's kind of like a chaotic dance between the two frequencies as they don't align properly. That causes this sort of weird pulsating action. Now, if you bring up the frequency little by little and find one that aligns well with the other, you get a pretty pleasant sound as the two waveforms are no longer fighting each other as much. Notice also how stable the waveform is moving, as opposed to how jittery and sporadic the dissonant waveform looked. So now we know what dissonance is, but the question is, why was my left ear processing things differently all of a sudden? But seriously, I tried to get information on this, but unfortunately, since this is a problem that's relatively uncommon, most of the information I could find on it was like in research papers, which I am very unqualified to even begin to try to understand. All the information that I could gather, however, is that A, the name of this condition is Diplacusis binauralis. I'm sure that pronunciation was great. And B, what this condition does is that it just offsets the ear's like pitch recognition a little bit. So let's say, for example, we get a 440 hertz sine wave coming into our ear. For some reason, the ear processes it as, let's say, for example, 470 hertz. Why? From what I gather, even the scientists aren't entirely sure why and how it happens. So that's cool, I guess. Sorry for edging you all this time only to leave you with blue balls in the end. I mean, sometimes that's just how it is in life, right? You answer a question and that only brings forth like 10 new questions. So let's see how those picks are coming along, huh? Oh, hey, you're back. Isn't it just wonderful to accumulate new knowledge about this beautiful world we live in? Is what I would say if I were a nerd. Got him. These pics are about done, so how about we check these puppies out? I don't have a dog. I had to improvise, okay? So, I have to come clean to you guys. I may have slightly lied about some of the things I said in this video. A couple of days into filming this video, my girlfriend's brother came back from Japan and brought me some guitar picks as a souvenir. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure I drove by a music shop yesterday, not too far from where I live. So yeah, I may have lied to you a little bit, but that's how it is in showbiz. There's no good entertainment that comes out of the truth. So if you have a problem with that, I don't care.
And cut. We're using this take. Really good. Bravo.
Thank you. Another funny thing is that I drove to the big city a couple of times where the music stores are located, and I had the opportunity to buy picks, but I chose not to just for the sake of the video. I mean, I could have just bought picks and just played the guitar and then just lied about it, but for some reason I felt like I needed to come in. Even the picks that I got from my girlfriend's brother, I didn't really use up until a couple days ago when I was recording the song and the whole playthrough thingy. Which, by the way, I hope you really enjoyed that. It took me quite a while because I'm not really the greatest guitarist, and I had to really struggle to string a lot of that shit together, and recording like the playthrough was just... Oh, it's raining suddenly. Recording the playthrough was just a nightmare, but I got through, and I'm honestly really proud of what I've made. Yeah, that's all I had to say. Thanks for watching.